Governor Ducey in Yuma this afternoon, touring the Mexican border with the Homeland Security Secretary.
The two are scheduled to be in Yuma this afternoon to oversee the deployment of National Guard troops on the U.S.-Mexico border. Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen and Governor Doug Ducey will also tour the border wall in the area before making comments to the press at a commercial port of entry.
State troopers stop a wrong-way driver, taking into custody the woman who was allegedly impaired on the Loop 202 in Tempe.
A 24-year-old female driver was arrested on 3 counts of endangerment as well as multiple DUI charges.
Scottsdale police arrested an Avondale man. His involvement, death of a 33-year-old woman whose body was found in an alley behind a business.
We were able to track Dea's phone during the hours prior to her death, which put her phone inside the residence of the suspect.
George Tanner, Arizona News.
It's time for your 1100 KFNX traffic report, brought to you by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. In Phoenix, we have stop-and-go traffic at the I-17 northbound between the I-10 split and 7th Street, as well as the Loop 202 westbound between 40th Street and State Route 51. Your unused prescription drugs could end up misused or stolen. Take them back at DEA's National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, April 28th. DEATakeback.com.
From the KFNX WeatherBug Weather Center, as we head into the evening under clear skies, our low tonight 58. A fire weather watch Thursday from noon to 8 p.m. Areas of blowing dust in the afternoon under sunny skies, breezy with a high near 84. More blowing dust Thursday evening, then mostly clear and breezy, low 54. I'm Scott Allen Fortney from the KFNX WeatherBug Weather Center.
Currently, in downtown Phoenix, it's 80 degrees.
Next news in 30 minutes or when it breaks. Here on Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX.
The Zika virus is trying to land in Arizona. Spread by infected mosquitoes, there are steps you can take to fight the bite. Use DEET repellent when you're outdoors. Wear long-sleeved shirts. Use screens on windows and doors. And make sure there isn't any standing water in your yard. Zika is dangerous for pregnant women and women who are thinking about becoming pregnant. See your healthcare provider to discuss prevention before you or your partner travel to an area where Zika is active. For more information, go to azhealth.gov/fightthebite.
Hi, I'm Bob Vila. If your business needs capital to reach its potential, Cabbage can help with flexible access to a line of credit of up to $250,000. Apply online and get a quick decision.
Visit Cabbage.com or call 855-CABBAGE to get $100 back when you take your first loan. That's 855-CABBAGE with a K. Credit lines and pricing are subject to periodic review and change. This is not a revolving account. Individual requests for capital are separate installment loans. All Cabbage business loans are issued by Celtic Bank, the Utah Chartered Industrial Bank, member FDIC.
Live from the Midtown studios of KFNX, it's time for the Wellness Roundtable radio show, sponsored by Atrix.com. Now, here's your hosts, Dr. Spear and Dr. Weiss.
Hello. Hope everybody's doing well this Wednesday. Welcome to the Wellness Roundtable radio show. I'm Dr. David Spear, along with my co-host, Dr. Scott Weiss. Dr. Weiss, how are we doing today?
I'm feeling great, Dave. How things going on in the studio, okay?
Everything is good. Waving hi to people on Facebook Live watching.
Absolutely.
So it's just going to be you and me today, and we're going to talk a little bit about some new evidence, new research related to activity trackers and also high blood pressure. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the components of fitness that you and I have been dealing with for over 2 decades, both individually and also in terms of working with people. So I wanted to kind of start with you. It's interesting. I've been, reading some of the studies that have come out, and one in particular, in the Journal of Epidemiology, which I found to be really interesting because I've done some, studies on activity trackers, specifically looking at how valid these heart rate monitors are, the new ones that you put on your wrist and they can determine heart rate, And we measured that against kind of a gold standard monitor to see if there was a difference, if they were reliable. And for the most part, they are, but for certain activities, they're not. But just to bring your attention to this study that was done in the Journal of Epidemiology, and the article was published on April 12th. And basically, they did a survey between Americans, Dutch population and Brits. And really interestingly enough, what they found, and I think where we're pretty aware of this, that there is a sort of a self-reporting disparity, right, in terms of the information that we give. So if somebody were to ask you, hey, Scott, how often do you exercise? You might kind of over-report that, right? You might say you exercise a little bit more than you actually do.
I think you and I, being in the fitness field, are a little bit more upfront and honest with the reality of what's going on. So I think we might be the tail ends of the bell curve, but I do think that the people, the majority of the people would definitely err on the side of, hey, somebody's asking me, we should be exercising, I should be doing all this, and yes, you err on the side of kind of increasing or pushing it up a little bit, saying that you do a little bit more. I think that is, in a way, human nature.
Yeah, I agree. But what's really cool about this study is that because they looked at different populations and they really looked at different cultures, right, different countries, the cool thing was the difference in how people report their activity based on country. So when it came to the Netherlands and Britain, they mostly said that they were kind of like moderate exercisers, but there weren't a lot that said I'm an extreme exerciser or an avid exerciser, and there weren't a lot that said I'm completely inactive. However, when they looked at the American population, the survey findings showed that they were much more to the extremes. So some people were like, yeah, I never exercise, and other people were, I exercise all the time. So it's very, very hard to tease out what the truth is in that, in that kind of situation. So they talk about this perception versus reality. So basically what they did was they surveyed all these people, but then they also gave them activity trackers to determine really what were they really doing, right? And so what they found, they studied a lot of people. We're talking
this was at USC, the study at USC?
Yeah, it looked like 1,500 people they studied. The study was done. The researchers are, it looks like, it's USC. Yeah, exactly. And so so in terms of perception versus reality, I found it really interesting that Americans would say, I'm inactive or I'm really active, right? And the other interesting part of this is that 60% of the Americans surveyed were inactive, which is, which kind of is very parallel to the information that we get about obesity and overweight, right?
Of course.
Right. If you look at those statistics, you're looking at about 60% of the population in America is either overweight or obese. Those are kind of the new, new pieces of information. Same thing.
Yeah, and we know people out there are not exercising the way they should and not even having one day of exercise out there. So, yeah, I can see that in the, the national, so to say, input that we really are kind of lacking on the exercise realm, no matter what, in America.
Right. So this could spur into a whole other conversation about, our diet and our culture and all of that. But just suffice to say that the American inactivity was twice that of what it was in the Netherlands and in Britain. Twice.
I think we know that. I think people in Europe, they walk a lot more. They're more active.
Yes.
I just think they're cycling in the Netherlands, and every country, in Italy, it's hilly, so they're walking after dinner naturally. So I just think that there's more activity, and it's built into the culture. Here, we drive everywhere. Everyone's trying to get a car. So I think that, all of that is built into, so to say, the culture of America versus Europe.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And also, looking at an activity tracker versus a survey, the activity tracker is, based on how reliable it is and
reality, what we think, right?
Yeah, this is exactly the reality of what you are doing, right? So, are you really doing the kind of exercise that you say you're doing, even though you're, gauging yourself as an extreme exerciser? And just to kind of put this into perspective, when we did the reliability studies of this, we found that those trackers are mostly reliable when it comes to moderate activity. When the activity gets intense, it's not that the tracker doesn't pick up heart rate or calories. It does, but there are certain trackers that are better for certain activities. So if I wear a tracker on my wrist, I'm not necessarily going to get all of the data I need from from biking because my wrist is stationary. So it's only going to pick up heart rate, but it's not going to pick up like the motion, right?
Excellent. Yeah, of course.
But on the other hand, if I wear something on my hip that's a pedometer and it's not a heart rate monitor, I'm not going to get the data for my heart rate to kind of inform the intensity that would really give me the outcome. Like, oh, you burned, 312 calories. So it really depends on the type of activity, and especially for weight training, what we found was that the activity tracker was so far off from what we used as a gold standard that you might as well not even use it. And I remember that there was technologies that were being talked about and being prototyped many years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that were specifically designed for people who were doing, strength training and weightlifting. So, I mean, I think
it's come a long way. And it's come a long way, Dave.
Absolutely,
I think there are a couple of big companies out there that actually put certain devices and can tell you the range of motion of your joint, how much muscle usage of the so to say muscle in front and the muscle in back of a joint. So I think that they've come a long way. I think maybe one of the companies is Apos or Exos or something like that. Mm-hmm. Have you heard of them?
No, but I know that there's kinetic kind of technology that can measure movement and range of motion. And when you had Kinect come out, for video games, they use that a lot also. Or you could use a motion capture system and, of course, get that data, but that's very expensive and it's cumbersome. But yes, I agree.
We use that, actually. We use some of that, equipment called Dartfish.
Yeah, sure.
Which really can quantify the movement.
Yep.
But not really telling you anything about heart rate.
Right.
About, well, it does really talk about technique, but it's not really doing physiology. I would say it's more biomechanics.
Right. There are systems out there like Catapult and the Team 2 by Polar that do that on a team basis. So you could be testing 5 people at one time. But I thought that was kind of an interesting article to start off with. And then in our second segment, Scott, I want to talk about an article about high blood pressure, and it's really interesting what people are saying as far as what they would do for an extra month or an extra year of life. We do take things for granted most of the time. So it's interesting to see people's perspective when they're kind of, put to a question of what would you do for an extra month or an extra year of life. So, I'm Dr. Spear along with my co-host, Dr. Scott Weiss, and we're having a lively and, I guess, flavorful discussion on some of the new research that's out there in fitness and health. We'll be right back with the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show.
I was raised here in this living hell. You don't know my kind.
Are you tired of spending valuable time with doctors who don't give you the attention you deserve? Even worse, they don't do a comprehensive investigation into the symptoms you do have. Finally, there are doctors that can help you and your family regain and maintain a youthful vitality using the tools of integrative medicine. Doctors Beck and Riaz bring over 30 years of experience to their practice, and they're available when you are. Their services include executive weight loss programs, sexual enhancement programs, pain management, and more. Visit Doctors Beck and Riaz at iWellnessPartners.com or call 480-508-7050 and make your appointment today. They'll earn your trust through a thorough workup with regular communication and get you feeling better than you have in years. The doctor is in.
Want to speak to an expert? Have a question involving your health and fitness? Visit wellnessroundtable.com and listen to the Wellness Roundtable Radio Hour right here on Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX, every Wednesday at 3 p.m.
Do you want to change the way you eat? How about trying a keto diet? Ever thought about a ketogenic lifestyle and how it brings about long-term health? Go Keto is a product that can do just that. Go Keto is the brainchild of Gerald Byrne, an international specialist in food science and metabolic physiology. Go Keto can reduce cravings and preserve muscle and glycogen stores. And most importantly, it has a natural taste, no sugar, no carbs, and no caffeine. Go Keto is clean fuel for body and mind. Visit GB Nutrisize and use the promo code WellGoKeto20 to receive 20% off your first order. Get your Go Keto today and change your life for the better.
Are you tired of traveling or waiting to see a health professional? Now you don't have to. Video chat with an expert anytime, anywhere, and get your health questions answered. Visit wellnessroundtable.com and speak to experts from all over the country in the areas of health, wellness, and fitness. Wellnessroundtable.com offers an on-demand system that allows you to connect to an expert immediately. No scheduling, no appointments necessary. Wellnessroundtable.com. Visit our website and take advantage of our on-demand system, wellnessroundtable.com, where you get your questions answered. Wellnessroundtable.com.
Are you ready for great slot action? You just hit the jackpot at Apache Gold Casino Resort, located east of Phoenix. You'll discover the newest slots along with your all-time favorites. And when you're ready to unwind, book a room at Apache Gold Resort Hotel. 124 cozy rooms and suites. For a different kind of game, play around at Apache Stronghold, one of the state's top-ranked golf courses. Go all in at Apache Gold Casino Resort. Call us today at 1-800-APACHE-8 or visit apache-gold-casino.com.
Atrix is one of the fastest growing companies in the footwear industry and is widely recognized as a global leader in comfort and wellness footwear products. The Atrix mission is to create the healthiest shoe on the market today. With fashion, function, and quality at the forefront, Atrix designs and manufactures most types of footwear for both men and women. All styles are crafted with care to meet the highest standards in design, incorporate cutting-edge technologies, and offer unmatched customization and adjustability. To learn how Atrix can help you with your feet, go to AETREX.com. That's Atrix.com.
Welcome back to the Wellness Roundtable radio show. I'm Dr. David Spear along with my co-host Dr. Scott Weiss, and we're chatting about some new research that has come out both in the areas of health and fitness, but also in terms of chronic disease. If you want to join in on the conversation, give us a call at 602-277-5369 or 1-866-536-1100. So, Scott, this next study was actually a survey that was supported by the American Heart Association and actually has a very interesting connection to me individually, and I'll tell you what that is in a moment. But it really speaks to what would people be willing to do to have, more of a to extend their life, I should say, or an increased quality of life. And what they did was they surveyed about 1,200 people. Now, admittedly, those people were younger, so they were under the age of 45, which, most people under the age of 45 are not having blood pressure issues. But it still posed the question as to what would you be willing to do to increase your lifespan. And so they wanted to weigh the benefits of high blood pressure treatment options against its inconvenience. So they asked people, how many of you would be willing to take a pill? How many of you would be willing to drink a daily cup of tea? And how many of you would be willing to exercise? And how many of you would be willing to take a shot or an injection?
So, I think I got the answer already, David.
Yeah, go ahead. What do you think the answer is?
I mean, it's a foregone conclusion. I think that if it's done here, or I would say not even in America, most people will try to take the path of least resistance, period, and really just try to take the easiest way out. So I think naturally, without looking too much into the study, people don't really want to do that much work to get their goal. I think people would much rather take a pill. I mean, if you could say, hey, go watch a movie and you're going to be better, they would do that in 2 seconds.
For sure.
Right. So I think that that's where we're probably headed with this, is that most people will really take the easy way out and rather take, I don't know, maybe a sip of tea, a pill, or than rather exercise.
You're right. I mean, and you're dead on. And it's funny because 16% fewer people would actually be willing to exercise for an extra month of life versus taking a pill. And if you look at it versus a cup of tea, you're looking at 15%. Fewer people would rather not exercise than take a cup of tea. So, yes, I agree with you. And we've spoken about this with other guests on the show in terms of, that changing your lifestyle, which is kind of what the show is about, right? Changing your lifestyle takes, physical effort, mental effort, physical effort, motivation, all of those things have to kind of come into play. I just found it really amazing, though. And again, because it's a younger group that was surveyed, it doesn't have the true validity that it would need to. Like if you surveyed 55 and 60-year-old males who are often suffering from high blood pressure issues or have been on medication or whatever, you might get a different skew, although I do think, though, that the lowest percentage of people would say, yeah, I would rather exercise. So I agree with you in that 100%. The fewest people, though, would rather take an injection. So the injection was the lowest. The highest was a pill. The next one was a cup of tea, which is amazing to me. And then the next one was exercise. And for an extra
Wait, what did you say about injection? What did you say about injections? A lot of people are scared of needles.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that people would rather not.
Right. It was the least preferred of all the options. If I didn't state that correctly, it was the least preferred. But what's really interesting, if you had something, an intervention where you could extend your life by 5 years, okay, the difference was that the exercisers, 93% of those people said they would do it. That's pretty close to what you found with the tea, which was 96, and then for the people who've taken a pill, it was 96. So now you're getting a lot closer. If you can promise me 5 years more of my life, quality of life, yes, I'm going to adopt exercise. 1 year, 1 month, not even thinking about it. I'm just going to take the pill and call it a day. But what's interesting, Scott, is the personal connection that I have to this was that this study was done by Dr. Erica Spatz. Does that last name sound familiar to you?
Yeah, I think our director of the university is related to that person.
Yeah, so the director of the Long Island University Division of Athletic Training, Health, and Exercise Science is the father of the author of this study. So that was pretty interesting to find out. But I think that this brings about another point besides just the data, the objective numbers. We have to look in terms of prevention, right? When we talk about Wellness Roundtable, when we talk about what we created as far as a platform, it's based on prevention. It's not based on treatment per se. So it's not as if I'm sick, I'm going to go see a doctor. It's more, I need to change my lifestyle. What do I do to prevent anything from happening to me down the road? And I think that's what they were going for with this study, because they basically are stating that high blood pressure is a leading risk factor for heart and blood vessel and cardiovascular disease. So they're looking at what are some interventions that people would be interested in participating in, and then what are the barriers to kind of implementing those interventions, right? Why wouldn't somebody exercise? So now you know that fewer people would want to exercise. So now you got to delve into that and find out why. Why are those people not going to exercise? And we know that there's several
and we can only
barriers.
surmise, right? You and I can only surmise what other people, would do or say why they would not want to exercise. But I just really think it's the effort. Period. It takes a lot to exercise, whether it's running, whether it's weight training, and people sometimes think, like a rate of perceived exertion is what we call it. They don't. Sure. They're not sure necessarily if they're really pushing as hard as they should be.
Sure.
A lot of people that, you and I both work with will say, yeah, I work out a lot, or yeah, I eat a perfect diet, but when you really get to the nitty-gritty of it, they don't eat a perfect diet, and they really don't push themselves that hard with weight training or cardiovascular training. So I think that, that gets almost back to what we were saying before about the perception of what you're really doing.
Right. I agree with you. I do think it's the physical effort that is probably the deterrent, right? It's hard. And obviously, you go through adaptations and it gets harder and, so definitely that is, I think, a big reason why. But I also think there are barriers that people perceive as being such that it will impede them. It will absolutely prevent them from doing any exercise. So, for instance, some research looking at exercise apps specifically looked at how do these apps address barriers for people who are not exercising or for people who want to exercise a little bit more but they're not exercising as much as they want, right? And what they found was that an exercise app, many of them, there's so many, there's hundreds of them out there, but the idea is that when you have a high number of barriers, so several barriers like time, family, money, access, whatever. When you have those barriers, like a large amount, The apps are actually good because they create this sort of novelty sphere that you're like, oh, this is really cool. If I press here, it's going to tell me to do this kind of exercise. And so people really get into it. Plus, if you're a little bit more techie, you're more likely to use it. However, when you have low levels of barriers, like, yeah, I just don't have the time, but everything else is fine, then they're not that great. So I do agree with you. I think that, you know, the physical effort and the taking the path of least resistance is absolutely true. But I also think there are other barriers out there that people perceive them as completely impeding them from doing anything, you know.
And that's what I was saying. It's perception. It's, again, the perception of your barrier. Because, Dave, you and I know that you can exercise throughout the day without changing your rhythms and your routines. If I bend down to pick up something, I want to do it right. If I want to, you know, if I park somewhere, I park a little further.
Exactly.
You can really exercise without rearranging your day at all. And, you know, that might be physical activity. But then you have to have planned exercise. And really, you don't need weights. You don't need to go to a gym. You don't need to get in your car. You don't need money in your pocket. You really just got to move. And that's really the takeaway message that we really need to tell people, is that even though we perceive all these barriers, time, money, distance, you can really get a decent workout from doing simple things at home without the use of any extraneous objects. Just your body is good enough.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point, and that segues into our next piece, where we're going to talk about the components of fitness, and I think we need to discuss that. You know, for each component, I think that's a really great segue. So this was an interesting study, and we'll be bringing up other studies in future shows as we go through our current events segment. I'm Dr. Spear, along with my co-host, Dr. Scott Weiss, and you're listening to the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show. We'll be right back after these words.
I was raised here in this living hell. You don't know my kind.
Fair and balanced. Independent Talk 1100 KFNX. Arizona's only independent voice. Independent Talk 1100 KFNX.
President Trump addressed a news conference this evening, first offering his condolences to the Bush family on the passing of former First Lady Barbara. He also addressed the planned meeting with North Korea's leader in the weeks ahead.
Hopefully that meeting will be a great success, and we're looking forward to it. It would be a tremendous thing for North Korea and a tremendous thing for the world. So we will be doing everything possible to make it a worldwide success.
Former Playboy model Karen McDougal, who said she had an affair with Donald Trump before he took office, settled her lawsuit with the National Enquirer's parent company over an agreement that prohibited her from discussing the relationship. She says the settlement, quote, restores to me the rights to my life story. For the first time, Amazon announced it has more than 100 million paid Prime members. It's never given out a specific number before. I'm Barbara Cusack.
It's time for your 1100 KFNX traffic report, brought to you by Coit Cleaning and Restoration. In Chandler, we have an accident at the I-10 eastbound, east of the Loop 202. In Maricopa, we have a collision at the I-10 westbound after US 60. And in Phoenix, be on the lookout for an accident at Shea Boulevard at Tatum Boulevard. Get your home clean as new with Coit. Coit Cleaning and Restorations is the industry's oldest and most trusted specialty cleaners, using the most advanced equipment available for over 65 years. Call 1-800-FOR-COIT.
From the KFNX WeatherBug Weather Center, as we head into the evening under clear skies, our low tonight 58. A fire weather watch Thursday from noon to 8 p.m. Areas of blowing dust in the afternoon under sunny skies, breezy with a high near 84. More blowing dust Thursday evening, then mostly clear and breezy, low 54. I'm Scott Allen Fortney from the KFNX WeatherBug Weather Center.
Currently, in downtown Phoenix, it's 80 degrees.
Next news in 30 minutes or when it breaks. Here on Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX.
Do you have IRS tax problems? Are they keeping you up at night? If your tax problems are affecting your family life, you need to know you have options. Call Ted Watkins, enrolled agent before IRS, the tax expert who will handle your case. We negotiate settlements with the IRS, the Arizona Department of Revenue, as well as prepare past due tax returns. Call us at 602-363-1952 or 602-418-7308.
Are you tired of traveling or waiting to see a health professional? Now you don't have to. Video chat with an expert anytime, anywhere, and get your health questions answered. Visit wellnessroundtable.com and speak to experts from all over the country in the areas of health, wellness, and fitness. Wellnessroundtable.com offers an on-demand system that allows you to connect to an expert immediately. No scheduling, no appointments necessary. Wellnessroundtable.com. Visit our website and take advantage of our on-demand system, wellnessroundtable.com, where you get your questions answered. Wellnessroundtable.com.
Atrix is one of the fastest growing companies in the footwear industry and is widely recognized as a global leader in comfort and wellness footwear products. The Atrix mission is to create the healthiest shoe on the market today with fashion, function, and quality at the forefront. Atrix designs and manufactures most types of footwear for both men and women. All styles are crafted with care to meet the highest standards in design, incorporate cutting-edge technologies, and offer unmatched customization and adjustability. To learn how Atrix can help you with your feet, go to AETREX.com. That's Atrix.com.
Are you tired of spending valuable time with doctors who don't give you the attention you deserve? Even worse, they don't do a comprehensive investigation into the symptoms you do have. Finally, there are doctors that can help you and your family regain and maintain a youthful vitality using the tools of integrative medicine. Doctors Beck and Riaz bring over 30 years of experience to their practice, and they're available when you are. Their services include executive weight loss programs, sexual enhancement programs, pain management, and more. Visit Doctors Beck and Riaz at iWellnessPartners.com or call 480-508-7050 and make your appointment today. They'll earn your trust through a thorough workup with regular communication and get you feeling better than you have in years. The doctor is in.
Want to speak to an expert? Have a question involving your health and fitness? Visit wellnessroundtable.com and listen to the Wellness Roundtable Radio Hour right here on Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX, every Wednesday at 3 p.m.
Do you want to change the way you eat? How about trying a keto diet? Ever thought about a ketogenic lifestyle and how it brings about long-term health? Go Keto is a product that can do just that. Go Keto is the brainchild of Gerald Byrne, an international specialist in food science and metabolic physiology. Go Keto can reduce cravings and preserve muscle and glycogen stores. And most importantly, it has a natural taste, no sugar, no carbs, and no caffeine. Go Keto is clean fuel for body and mind. Visit GB Nutrisize and use the promo code WellGoKeto20 to receive 20% off your first order. Get your Go Keto today and change your life for the better.
Welcome back to the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show. I'm Dr. David Spear along with my co-host Dr. Scott Weiss. If you'd like to join in on the conversation, give us a call at 602-277-5369 or 1-866-536-1100. Scott, so we kind of delved into a couple of research studies, and you segued perfectly into talking about how, you know, fitness doesn't have to be this kind of doesn't have to be something that's bigger than life. It doesn't have to be something that's really expensive or you need access to a really fancy gym. Most of what you can do at home, and you don't really even need equipment. You can kind of use your body. So I thought that was a really good segue into what we are going to talk about now, which are the five components, the five major components of fitness. So I thought we would break these down for our listeners.
Absolutely. I think that people need to know really what they need to focus on and all the variables of exercise that we know are going to be, you know, perfect for somebody to really take part in. So, yeah, I think if we break down the main five components, it would be great. And we can start with even just, body composition.
Sure.
Is one major and important, variable in fitness. And body composition, we're talking about how much percent you have of lean muscle to fat mass. And people can figure that out so easily for you in most gyms these days, whether they make you grab this little device that has a little electrical current that goes through you, or somebody taking this little, pincher device and, grabbing different areas on your body to tell you what your body fat is. That's one main component of so to say, general fitness, being aware, knowing what your body fat is, because we know as body fat increases, all the sequelae happen after that.
Yeah, and I think that's, and the other point to make, too, is that I think, especially in this country and maybe other countries as well, I think people are very preoccupied with weight. And, it's been talked about ad nauseum as far as, it's only a number and it doesn't really tell you anything because, you're weighing muscle, bone, tissue, water. Can fluctuate from day to day based on dehydration, menstruation, so many different kind of variables. And it really is important. You make a really good point, because if you can determine your body composition and your body fat percentage versus your lean body mass percentage, now you're talking about something that can really be measured, especially if you're going through, let's say, some kind of training program, a 10-week, a 12-week, whatever it is, you can really start to see differences. And the other point that you make, which is really important, is that although weight, and especially waist-to-hip ratio, is very highly correlated with cardiovascular disease, so is body fat percentage. So, and that is, I guess, Scott, also to mention when we're talking about body composition, I think mentioning waist-to-hip ratio is very important. That's a very easy measurement to take.
And I find, Dave, many people that I run into throw waist-to-hip ratio aside, and they're using BMI. And that, right. You and I can go back and forth about, the specificity and the sensitivity of each one of those tests.
Right.
But I think BMI people hear a lot. Then what is your waist-to-hip ratio?
Yeah, I agree. And BMI comes out of insurance actuarial tables, right? It was,
absolutely.
Right. So it was like from the 1970s, they determined, okay, if you're this height and this weight, this happens to be your body mass index. But we know, and people have been educated on it, that BMI is not the be-all, end-all, because if you have more muscle mass, your BMI is increased, and then you look like you're obese, but, on a chart, but you're obviously not. So I think taking into consideration body fat and waist-to-hip ratio, which has really been shown to be highly correlated to cardiovascular disease, is an easy way to do it, to determine that. So that's a very important component of fitness.
And to figure that out, it's really easy, Dave. Yeah. You and I used to figure it out from scratch, in our laboratory.
Right. Yes.
But this day and age, you jump on Google and you literally could put in your circumference. You literally take a tape measure and measure a couple of spots specifically on your body, and you're done. And they'll tell you exactly what your waist-to-hip ratio is and your BMI.
Right.
Forget about your body fat. That's even easier. You could do that too online.
Right.
So there is a lot of, so to say, new technology out there.
It's very easy to measure waist. You're measuring at the smallest point of your waist, kind of where your waist comes in. I guess where the love handles start for men. And then
the hourglass. That's
the
tightest part of the hourglass, I would say.
Right. Exactly. And then for the hips, you're measuring around the largest circumference around your butt.
Correct.
And it should be straight. It should be a nice straight line. And you basically divide your waist by your hip, and you get your waist-to-hip ratio. So you can go online and look at various charts to see what the risk is related to the numbers that you get. How about let's talk about flexibility, which is often I call the bastard stepchild of fitness.
That's funny, and it's my favorite.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Coming from a martial arts background, you've been trained in flexibility. And I think why is flexibility kind of tossed off to the side most of the time?
Why is it tossed? That is a good question.
I'll tell you my thoughts.
Yeah, and it's hard to think about the majority, but I think it's tossed aside because it doesn't seem like it does much. I think people feel like if they're not exerting themselves, they're not doing anything.
Right.
Right. But yet there is a pain when you stretch.
Right.
And maybe they don't want to feel that pain. So, again, it's hard. We're both educated men, but it's hard to speak intelligently about what other people would think. But I think that, they don't want to feel the pain, number one, and they might not correlate it to true exercise.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. The only thing I would say is that it's also not glamorous, right? It's not doing a bicep curl. It's not doing a heavy squat. You're not.
Correct.
There's certain things that you might do in a facility that stretching just it sort of doesn't look like you're really doing anything, although you're doing a lot. And let's talk about how one can actually stretch even at home. Again, like you said, you don't really need any equipment, right? You could just use your body. So there could,
especially with stretching.
Right, so like 3 easy stretches that you could do. I know we have videos on wellnessroundtable.com. If you click on Explore Our Content, there are various videos on different types of stretches. And I think that, you know, understanding that it could be very, very basic and simple could take a lot of the fear out of it.
Yeah, and maybe if people want to know 3 stretches that, you know, we would recommend, there's no doubt about it, the doorway stretch, where you put both arms in a doorway and kind of put one leg through the doorway and lean forward to open up your chest muscles. Right. That's a big one for your upper body. You know, another one that, you know, I would recommend is kind of the lunge stretch. The hip flexors get so tight, you know. Doing that is really, really important. And most people, you know, doing some sort of, you know, lower calf stretch is ideal because we know the calf loses blood supply really, you know, so to say, early throughout the age. So keeping that flexible is ideal. So, you know, calf stretching, the hip flexors, opening up the chest, those would be 3 that I would recommend that are ideal. That's
great. And if you wanted to add one more, I would say a hamstring stretch, because we do get a lot of tight hamstrings, which lead to low back pain. Or it can be, you know, attributed to low back pain. So that might be another one. Yeah, and those.
And you hear, Dave, always people pulling their hamstring. You know, there's always hamstring injuries, and that can lead into our next segue, which is how do you keep that muscle both enduring and strengthening at the same time? Right. And some people are not sure quite how to keep it, you know, like that, and that can, so to say, thwart some injury.
Yeah, when we come back, we're going to talk about muscular strength and muscular endurance. What's the difference between the two? And then how do you incorporate that into a program? Again, we're not here to, you know, give you a program over the radio, but basically just to tell you that, simply put, you could just use your own body weight and really a floor to get all of this done. So it doesn't need to be something that is that's elaborate or fancy. Don't feel like you have to go into a fancy situation or spend a lot of money. So when we come back, we'll be talking about a few of the other components of fitness. We'll be right back after these messages.
Do you want to change the way you eat? How about trying a keto diet? Ever thought about a ketogenic lifestyle and how it brings about long-term health? Go Keto is a product that can do just that. Go Keto is the brainchild of Gerald Byrne, an international specialist in food science and metabolic physiology. Go Keto can reduce cravings and preserve muscle and glycogen stores. And most importantly, it has a natural taste, no sugar, no carbs, and no caffeine. Go Keto is clean fuel for body and mind. Visit GB Nutrisize and use the promo code WellGoKeto20 to receive 20% off your first order. Get your Go Keto today and change your life for the better.
Atrix is one of the fastest growing companies in the footwear industry and is widely recognized as a global leader in comfort and wellness footwear products. The Atrix mission is to create the healthiest shoe on the market today with fashion, function, and quality at the forefront. Atrix designs and manufactures most types of footwear for both men and women. All styles are crafted with care to meet the highest standards in design, incorporate cutting-edge technologies, and offer unmatched customization and adjustability. To learn how Atrix can help you with your feet, go to AETREX.com. That's Atrix.com.
Are you tired of spending valuable time with doctors who don't give you the attention you deserve? Even worse, they don't do a comprehensive investigation into the symptoms you do have. Finally, there are doctors that can help you and your family regain and maintain a youthful vitality using the tools of integrative medicine. Doctors Beck and Riaz bring over 30 years of experience to their practice, and they're available when you are. Their services include executive weight loss programs, sexual enhancement programs, pain management, and more. Visit Doctors Beck and Riaz at iWellnessPartners.com or call 480-508-7050 and make your appointment today. They'll earn your trust through a thorough workup with regular communication and get you feeling better than you have in years. The doctor is in.
Are you tired of traveling or waiting to see a health professional? Now you don't have to. Video chat with an expert anytime, anywhere, and get your health questions answered. Visit wellnessroundtable.com and speak to experts from all over the country in the areas of health, wellness, and fitness. Wellnessroundtable.com offers an on-demand system that allows you to connect to an expert immediately. No scheduling, no appointments necessary. Wellnessroundtable.com. Visit our website and take advantage of our on-demand system, wellnessroundtable.com, where you get your questions answered. Wellnessroundtable.com.
Hi everyone, it's Robert Jones with Network Together. Mark your calendar for April 26th from 3 to 7 p.m. because it's NetMob time. In addition to our hundreds of attendees, open networking, vendor booths, and fully loaded buffet, we will have international speakers, millionaire maker Laurel Langmeyer of Live Out Loud, as well as David Fagan, former CEO of Guerrilla Marketing and current CEO of Icon Builder Media. See us at the AZ Forum in Chandler. For more information, go to netmob.net. That's netmob.net, or call us at 602-228-0907. Yes, it's NetMob time.
Want to speak to an expert? Have a question involving your health and fitness? Visit wellnessroundtable.com and listen to the Wellness Roundtable Radio Hour right here on Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX, every Wednesday at 3 p.m.
Welcome back to the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show. I'm Dr. David Spear, along with my co-host, Dr. Scott Weiss. Give us a call at 602-277-5369 or 1-866-536-1100. So, Scott, we were talking about muscular strength, muscular endurance, and what the difference is between those, and also how to implement exercises to kind of attack those components of fitness. And we had just finished talking about flexibility, right? So when we talk about strength, Scott, I think the most important thing to know is that strength is essential to function. If we don't have strength, we can't lift. We can't really hold ourselves up. And again, there's strengths of various muscles that that contribute to different movement. But if we don't have the strength or we have weakness, then it really, really it affects our function in a way that I think, unlike any other component of fitness, you're really not able to do anything without strength.
I mean, I agree with that, but then I do think about, the cardiovascular or your cardiopulmonary system.
Yep.
And if you don't have the ability to, exchange oxygen, you don't have your muscles,
Yep.
Like your diaphragm. A lot of times, the diaphragm is a limiting factor in many diseases. The diaphragm does not work. So, yeah, muscle is so important for function. I mean, it's the most important muscle in breathing, your diaphragm, so
right.
It really does kind of do so much for the body. I agree.
True, but in my experience, and I guess where I was going is like I've tested, people with heart failure for years. So there were several patients who had heart failure who were in their 40s. They got it through a virus or whatever. But here's a strong 40-year-old man with heart failure. So the heart is still failing. The ability of the heart to pump blood or, kind of get that cardiac output throughout the body is minimal or minimized, but still they were strong, right? So they could still function. I mean, obviously, if your heart is functioning at an extremely low level, yes, for sure, oxygenation, everything.
It'll affect the periphery,
right.
Yeah.
But without that muscular strength, you really can't do anything. You can't function. So I think it's essential to just daily function.
Breathing. If you don't have good muscle function, you might not be able to breathe.
Right.
So I agree.
Right.
But I think you're talking more about like getting out of bed,
Correct.
going to do your activities of daily living,
Correct.
going to the bathroom, reaching, things like that.
Right.
I
Lifting,
agree.
Carrying things if you have to. But obviously your body places demands on, your body has demands throughout the day, and you need to meet those demands. Without the strength, you're not going to be able to do that. So, how would you define muscular strength?
It's the ability of a muscle to not only contract, but it's the amount of force that it could produce in a short amount of time. And I don't mean a quick explosive. That I would talk more about power.
Correct.
But just the ability of the muscle to really produce force in a short amount of time would be strength versus, endurance, which is, strength over a long period of time.
Right. Or just repetitive movement of a particular muscle group or muscle. Right?
Correct.
And when we talk about that links directly to sort of the fifth component of fitness, which is cardiovascular endurance, right? Because
True.
Right? Because muscular endurance really has everything to do with, as you mentioned before, the oxygenation of that tissue, the ability of the muscle to pull the oxygen from the blood vessels around it. And then, of course, like create energy, and we can get into all the biochem
Right, but we know
stuff.
cardiovascular fitness, above all else,
Right.
really helps every single organ of the body.
Absolutely.
And I would say if there's anything you can do, that would be, the most important. If there's if there's, so to say, any of the components that you take away, cardiovascular fitness will affect everything, and, it's going to affect, all the components of fitness. So that's what I would do if somebody was holding a gun to my head, say, just do one form of exercise
You would
now.
do that, right.
That's what I would choose.
Right. And the other thing is to kind of stay with the simplistic theme of this show. In order to achieve cardiovascular endurance, you don't have to train for a marathon. You could just walk, right? I mean, again, walking is a demonstration of muscular endurance, right? Because you're repetitively moving your legs, maybe your arms, and also you are improving the cardiovascular endurance at the same time.
Absolutely. But the one thing I always like to add, Dave, is you do have to push it a little bit. The whole idea of exercise is a little bit of challenge. If you're just taking a leisurely walk in the mall, it's not going to cut it, you know?
Right.
Yes, that's physical activity, but it's truly not, planned exercise. So if you are going to go out and walk and trying to take care of this component of fitness, try to walk a little brisker, try to walk a little faster, make sure you feel your heart pumping a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so you're right. You don't need to window shop. That's not really what I'm talking about, where you're stopping every, 15 feet to walk into a store, browse around. I'm talking about, consistent walking, and to walk at a level where you still feel comfortable, but you're feeling your breath a little bit. Again, as we mentioned in some other shows, the talk test is a very, very easy way to determine your intensity level, right? So you should be able to be talking in a conversational tone, maybe not as quickly as we are now, but also not taking a breath between every word, because then it's too difficult. And that's a nice way to determine that. And the other thing to mention about cardiovascular endurance is that the more fit you are in terms of your cardiovascular endurance, the lower your resting heart rate will be. And also, the greater the range between the resting heart rate and the higher heart rate that you can maintain. So the heart rate reserve.
That's important.
Right. The heart rate reserve expands, which I think is, a lot of people don't think about that. That in the 1980s, target heart rate zones were all the rage. And now there are boutique places that have opened up specifically designed to use that kind of technique, target heart rate zone. But I think the range between that rest heart rate or resting heart rate and the peak heart rate is very, very important, because the larger the reserve you have, the more cardiovascularly fit you are, and the higher the ceiling.
And I guess the takeaway, Dave, is that people out there should know that, yes, when the heart becomes more efficient, it will beat less at rest. It will not need to pump blood everywhere in, 80 beats. It can do it in 70 beats. It becomes more efficient.
That's
that really is important. And then finally, like you were saying, talking about even just your recovery. Recovery is a great indicator of fitness.
Yes.
How fast you can recover after you do a bout of exercise, cardiovascular exercise, is huge. If it takes you a long time to recover, then it's, you're not in the best shape, so to say.
Right.
You should recover a little quicker.
So we started the show, after we talked about the research. We started this kind of segment with basically saying, hey, you know what? This is really simple. You don't need to be fancy. You don't need to have a lot of money and have the access and all of that. You were saying it's kind of the physical effort that makes people not really want to get involved. So let's come up with a 10-minute routine that incorporates every single component of this 5-component set. Starting with muscular strength. I think one of the best things to do would be to do a chair sit or a squat. utilizing...
air squats or push-ups. Air squats or push-ups, 100%.
Right. So using large muscle groups, again, you could go online and see examples of that. You could speak to the experts on wellnessroundtable.com, get examples of that. But I think you're right. Like a chair squat if you're a little older and you need that support, or an air squat and push-ups. If you can't do a push-up, where do you do them? I can't do them on the wall. So where do I do? I can't do them on the floor. Where do I do them?
On the wall.
Yeah, I gave you the answer. Anyway.
You did.
You're right. So you do them on the wall, right? And then the further you lean back, the harder it is. Muscular endurance. I mean, for me, the biggest bang for my buck is walking.
Well, I like that, and I like saying that. That's kind of like cardiovascular endurance. But when I think about, muscular, endurance, I'm thinking about those exercises we did for strength, without a load. You do them for longer. Mm-hmm. So, you can increase the load with, the body weight exercises if you want. But when I'm talking about muscular endurance, it's doing those same exercises, but really trying to, increase the numbers of that and increase your repetitions is what I would say. So if you go to the gym and you're doing your bicep curls, you lift a heavier weight, you might get like 5 to 7 reps. But you want to go for more endurance, I'm talking 15 to 20.
Okay. And I agree with you, but I also think that walking is going to get at that muscular endurance as well as cardiovascular endurance, which is the next component. So that next component would be walking, let's say, right? Or it could be being on a stationary bike. What about in terms of, we talked about flexibility, maybe 3 flexibility exercises, one for the calf, one for the upper body, and
just
one
Just hold it for longer than you think.
Yep, and then the body fat composition.
10 seconds.
We talked about waist to hip ratio and taking body fat.
Get on wellnessroundtable.com and we'll tell you a lot more.
That's right. Join us next week for the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show.
You've been listening to the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show right here on Independent Talk 1100 KFNX. Tune in next week for more from the experts on the Wellness Roundtable Radio Show.
Atrix is one of the fastest growing companies in the footwear industry and is widely recognized as a global leader in comfort and wellness footwear products. The Atrix mission is to create the healthiest shoe on the market today. With fashion, function, and quality at the forefront, Atrix designs and manufactures most types of footwear for both men and women. All styles are crafted with care to meet the highest standards in design, incorporate cutting-edge technologies, and offer unmatched customization and adjustability. To learn how Atrix can help you with your feet, go to AETREX.com. That's Atrix.com.
Stand by for your daily act of civil disobedience. You're listening to Joe Walsh.
I was on MSNBC this morning and I got into a little tussle with a liberal because I said, to me, Trump is like our first citizen president. The guy's a regular guy. He talks like Jimmy down the street.
This is the Joe Walsh Show.
Joe Walsh, nights at 7 p.m. Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX. You're listening to Independent Talk, 1100 KFNX, Cave Creek, Phoenix, a division of Premier Radio Stations, the home of Laura Ingraham, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. It's 4 o'clock.